Al, and I hope you guys just have a couple minutes to listen to the scientists.
Joke. I was making a joke that was inappropriate for the corporate environment.
Right. But if you would...
Can you only imagine if I said fuck out loud once a day?
Yeah, if you were typing something up, if you made a typo, and you said, oh, fuck.
Yeah, if I said fuck once a day?
Yeah, I don't think anybody would complain about that. Unless you had somebody that was super, super religious, maybe. But if you made a typo...
Those two women behind me were super, super something, but they I don't know if it was religion or not.
Yeah, but I mean...
It was. It wasn't the person I said it to that complained.
Right.
It was the two women behind me I wasn't even talking to.
I mean, if you're not... If they didn't see the context of that, it sounds really nasty. It does. I mean, you gotta admit that. If you've seen one pussy, you've seen them all.
But they knew the context, because if they heard me say it, they heard her ask me if I wanted to see pictures of her cats.
Yeah.
Of course they knew the context that I meant.
But, of course, as I was saying before, it really depends on the type of corporation you're working for.
Yes, sir. But it also depends on how many people complain.
Right. That's true. But that also depends on, in a corporate environment where you're in cubicles and people come from a whole bunch of different backgrounds, I mean, we can argue it all day. But
yeah. By the way, the comment in the group chat about grabbing them by the pussy. Okay, there's no ambiguity there, because they were specifically talking about how they wanted to have sex with the particular women. The context was clearly obvious there.
Yeah. But you did something really stupid.
Oh, I'm the first one to admit it. It was totally stupid. Yes.
But I think a lot of it really does depend on context. And
yes.
Especially with the word fuck.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, if there was an earthquake and part of the ceiling fell on my head, and a half a second later I would have said, "Oh fuck," I wouldn't have been reported for that, as my skull is split open. Right. Of course, context depends. Yes.
But yeah, it's interesting. I put in the chat a little bit earlier. There's a really funny video called "The Most Interesting Word in the English Language."
Yes.
I forget which comedian did it. I don't know if it was Carlin or somebody else, but
we played a Carlin one earlier.
But it is very funny. It talks about all the different ways that the word fuck can be used. It's very funny.
And let's try it right now. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the best fucking show on Clubhouse. I am the best fucking host, your Uncle Steve, otherwise known as Steve Appel. But fuck no, you don't have to call me Uncle Steve. You can just fucking call me Steve if you want. Let's say hello to one of the best fucking people that has come back to this fucking show in a long fucking time. Carlos, it's a pleasure to have you back. What the fuck do you want to talk about?
Let's fucking talk about masturbation. another taboo topic. Back to your comment. I was in a law firm, I won't mention the name, where my partner F-bombs left and right. Like, what the F you doing? Did anybody effing teach you any effing? And I'm like, I'm getting the feeling this person doesn't like me. And one day he comes into my office. I'd only been there 2 weeks. And he found a mistake, not a mistake, just a patent application. I dared to ask the inventor a question. And he goes, what the fuck? What are you doing asking questions? You should have researched it. Never ask a question. Always research it. I said, it hasn't gone out yet. I'll fix it. And he laid into me for another 15 minutes. And I have a relatively short fuse, even with people that are superior. So after 15 minutes of him literally F-bombing me. He drove me up that little ramp, and I'm an associate. He's a partner. He was my boss, and I said, "God damn it! I told you I was going to fix the fucking application. Get the fuck out of my office now." And literally, I knew what I'm like. I'm fired. I'm fired. This is it. And I did it on. I said, I'm not going to take this abuse. I don't care who the fuck he is. I'm not going to take that shit from this asshole. So.
Context and who you're speaking to. Absolutely, please continue.
He leaves the room, right? And next thing I know, 15 minutes later, he's outside my office. And I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm fired. I expected him to come in and just say, hey, you're fired. Get your shit. Get the fuck out. And he comes in and apologizes and says, look, I'm really, really sorry about the way I treated you. He goes, I have a problem with my temper. It's not you. This is how I talk to everybody. And he apologized to me, And you know what? I really admired him for having, having the balls to actually apologize for being a fucking bitch. Just like he didn't have to. He could have just fired him right there. Now, because it stopped, when it wasn't interacting with him, but after that, when he pointed it out, the other thing was like, he didn't fix his nature. That's just the way he's treating everybody. That's just another person. That's just the way he was. That's my story.
Steve, can I just tell a quick story about how when I was in high school, I pissed off basically the librarians to no end, and they started screaming at me that I was hacking their computers and all these things. So I came back that afternoon. They wrote me up and sent me to the dean's office or whatever, and I thoroughly apologized. I said I was an immature prick and an asshole. I'm sorry. And this librarian was so taken back. She's like, "Oh, I totally accept your apology, and you're the first person who has ever apologized to me. I'm so happy you apologized to me, and I'm going to just tear this up, and you don't have to worry about it." I was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." So from the perspective of the person that you're apologizing to, like this former speaker mentioned about the lawyer who apologized for having an anger management issue, again, I do go back to that concept that every room on Clown House is your opportunity to get into another vehicle to experience a life of less road rage. And it plays out into your real world business ventures, your love relationships, your family relationships. It's a revolutionary way of circumnavigating your own tomfoolery.
Thank you very much for that. We've been joined again by our fearless founder, Alfonso. How's it going, Alfonso? I got so into the conversation at the top of the hour, I forgot to do the break. And then some people said, that's Steve reliving his old radio days. He wants to kill the room with the break. And so I took a poll, and people didn't want to do the break. So we passed on the break. If anybody in the audience wants to come up, raise your hand. You can talk about anything you want. We've been talking about the word fuck for about 40 minutes now, but we can talk about atheism, God, religion, politics, current events. John, it's your birthday. What the heck? What the fuck are you doing back here?
Well, I just finished breakfast.
Oh, okay.
Had a wonderful big breakfast at the local airport.
That's great. again and say your first name.
This is Adrian. I just want to say that profanity is like from the movie RoboCop. I've met the real RoboCop at the gym in Beverly Hills at the Equinox, and I came up to him and I said, "Are you RoboCop?" He said, "Yeah, who are you?" I said, "My name is John. My dad was a cop for 30 years. He used to quote you." He said, "What was your dad's favorite quote?" I said, "Bad language makes for bad feelings." And he said, "My name is Peter." And I think his name is Peter Sellers. He played RoboCop. And I said, "Well, what do you do now?" And he said, "I'm a professor at a university. I teach history." I said, "Oh, Dr. Peters." He says, "Exactly." I said, "Well, bad language makes for bad feelings." He said, "God bless you." He said, "God bless your father." I said, "God bless you. Have a great workout."
Context and the person you're speaking to. Arguably, Vince Lombardi was the greatest football coach of all time. One of the main contributing factors, if not the main reasons, why he was so effective is because he knew his players well enough where he should either give them a pat on the butt or grab them by the face mask and swear at them till no tomorrow. He knew the dividing line about how to motivate his players to get the best out of them. And part of that, of course, is with
Hi guys, welcome.
The person that you're talking to.
And sorry for last week.
And the context.
I had major technical issues with my keyboard.
I've had my boss.
And somehow it's fixed itself, but I do have an appointment tomorrow at the local Apple store.
Everybody, but he has sworn at me. In fact, he's admitted that when he's trying to teach me something on occasion, he said, "I know I'm being a fucking dickhead, but it's the best way I know how to teach you what I want you to learn." I mean, he's never said, like, "Steve, fuck you." And Dr. James, I see you. Also, my other boss, she has said fuck to me. I have said fuck to her. But I'll tell you this, whenever she's instructed me to do something or basically said, "Steve, I made a mistake," or "Steve, you did it wrong," or "Steve, I need it done over," I never, ever tell her, well, firstly, I never swear in response. I never say that's ridiculous. I never say, "Of course I did it right." I say, "I apologize. I'll get it done right, and I'll do it again." It's not always the words you use. Well, as George Carlin would say, words aren't bad. It's the intent of the people behind them. And when you're talking to people, I can come off sometimes worse without using swear words than using swear words. It's all in context, the situation, and the person you're speaking to. Okay, who wanted to speak? I forget. Well,
Dr. James.
Go, Dr. James, go.
Yeah, so just
30 minutes left. We're ending the show at the top of the hour. 30 minutes left. Go ahead, Doctor.
To the caller who mentioned that I can go on, I promise not to use all 30 minutes right now.
That caller, that niece, mistook you for somebody else.
Understood. So what I wanted to say was that, yes, I think one of the big take-home points here, it's important, is context really does matter. I think that, hypothetically, if a child is raised in a home where cursing is not sort of avoided, but is at least used as a point of communication, one would learn the difference between saying fuck in some context and pussy in another. So it's possible that maybe if you don't grok the nuance of that and the context in which it was used and how that could be offensive to some women in a certain context, then maybe if you had some more teaching about it when you were young, then maybe this would not have been a problem for you. My experience has been the context for saying pussy is limited typically to the bedroom, and it can be a very welcome comment, in fact, maybe an invited comment amongst other words that you would definitely not use in the workplace. And then, I think that, again, I just come back to there can be a real warmth to a certain peppering of certain words that you would call curse words, you know, in certain contexts. And in fact, I'm losing my last thought, so I'll just land there.
And I was just putting in a comment in the group chat to Andrew. Yes, Andrew, go ahead and ask the question in the group chat. I'll be happy to answer. I want to go from one side of the coin to the other. As I said earlier, I thought the word fuck is the greatest word ever invented because it can be used so often. I'm going to go to the other side of the coin, but I'm going to request that although we may talk about this word, we don't mention this word. I go into rooms. I was in, well, I don't mind mentioning it, Talking Apes, where they use this word all the fucking time. I never use this word. I have never used this word in the past 10 years. And I purposely do not use this word because, one, I choose not to. Two, because I think it's the worst word in the English language, and that is the N-word. Once again, I encourage everybody to comment, but I'm going to make a special request that you don't say the word, just say N-word. One of the reasons why this word is so bad is because the reaction that people feel by it is probably the worst word in the English language. What surprises me is that how some people think it's okay to use the word depending on your skin color. I really don't know any other word where people say it's okay to use the word or not use the word depending on your skin color. Yeah, I know people say, stay in your lane. I hate that. I hate people that tell me.
You're going to a hostile place to preach to Muslims? No, he was kidnapped. And they tried to rescue him. 8 American soldiers died.
You cannot be more Catholic than the Pope. Israel is one that deal. That's what it is.
Can you hold
Oh
on
my
one
God.
second?
Sorry. Let me ask you
No,
a
don't be
question.
trying to show it. No, don't be trying to show it because that's the reason why he's interrupting people.
Sorry, you're being unreasonable. Why I say you're being unreasonable is that the Palestinian people should not suffer because of Hamas.
I think that I think that you are missing the reason that Hamas is doing this is because they know that the Palestinians will suffer, and when the Palestinians will suffer, all those so-called pro-Palestinians will have more support for the Palestinian cause. The fact is that those pro-Palestinians don't really have a moral compass. This is why none of them was calling for the hostages to be released. And they also, even now, after all the destruction in Gaza, they are still not calling for the hostages to be released. The more suffering the Palestinians have, the better for their side. This is like, you need to understand this. It's on purpose.
I want to add something. Israeli universities will on the strike tomorrow too. All the universities, Daniel, you should know.
No, we're talking about something else. I will take you down if you keep on interrupting and moving the topic from something to something. I understand you read the news and you want to update us on something that we all know, but wait for when it's relevant.
About it, Daniel, if you know about it.
Because we're talking about something else right now. You wait your turn.
I'm talking about the point, but you don't want to talk about.
Okay, you wait for your turn, and then when you want. Oh wow! Listen. I will move it to the audience if anyone.
Can I say something? Let me just complete my thought here, Michael. So much before, I think Americans should join the war with Israel, right? But much before we do that, we should at least put some pressure on Qatar. Like Lincoln is such a softie, right? Nobody really gives a shit to what he says, what he thinks. I mean, nobody cares about him. We could easily put pressure on the Emir of Qatar because he controls Hamas indirectly. We all know this. When Hamas lives there, the leaders of Hamas used to live in the 5-star hotels in Qatar. What has the American done to the Qataris? Nothing. No pressure applied, no threats, right? We could easily put a lot of pressure there. Second, Erdogan. Erdogan has been hosting the leaders of Hamas. What pressure has America put on Turkey? None whatsoever. We look pretty weak. Blinken looks pretty weak. And thirdly, I just want to quickly go back to the freedom of speech discussion, just for a second. US has not really dealt with Islamic radicalism inside the country spread through speech. You know, Europe also has free speech laws, I mean, for centuries. But recently, they had to modify, Germany and England has had to modify their freedom of speech laws because they understand the power of Islamic radicalization through speech. You know, after 9/11 happened, I have friends in the FBI. After 9/11 happened, one of my friends told me that they had cameras and audio recording devices placed in many mosques around the United States. Okay, so when shit hits the fan, all our free speech laws will go out the door, and we will really be pragmatic and deal with the reality of the situation. Until that happens, we can talk philosophy, but in the end, when life is being threatened, you have to ban free speech, especially Islamic.
No, it's not about banning free speech. It's about having law that enforces, having an enforcement body that enforces the laws of criminal activity. So, but at the same time, it's like we see, and I honestly, I don't have, I don't know how to approach this, but all these demonstrations, around Europe and in the USA, pro-Hamas, because they are not pro-Palestinians, they are pro-Hamas, really. I'm not sure how they should be treated, because yes, they fall under freedom of speech, but at the same time, what it does is that it creates chaos in the countries, and it's just it's a global issue. I don't think that USA should get involved in any other country's wars or whatever just because. But the Islam problem is being a problem everywhere, and we're seeing that. The problem with this is that these protesters are getting more heated and more heated and more heated every time, and we see little terror attacks everywhere that you cannot control because it's just quote unquote civilians, and it's just like normal people that are walking next to you, but all of a sudden they decide to act in the name of Islam and act in the way of the Palestine cause or whatever, and they can fucking stab you, and that is scary. So I'm not really sure how these things should be controlled. I'm not sure if it's freedom of speech. I'm not sure if it's just immigration and illegal activity, and anyone that has one criminal record should just be sent back. I don't know.
What you said is answer the question, Mister. The problem is Islam.
I don't care. I don't care if it's highly perceived as hateful or whatever, Marco. I'm talking about real things that are happening in the West, and all of this is getting very heated, and it's happening more precisely because of the support of Hamas. And people feel that they are justified to act in the name of quote-unquote free Palestine and the freedom fighters, and that is dangerous. Last week we had a stabbing in Germany. That was like out of the blue. People were celebrating the day of the town, and there was like 8 people stabbed. 3 of them died. So it is a problem. It is becoming a physical problem. I wish that you guys, and when I say you guys, I'm talking about Muslims, I wish that it was only about like, oh yeah, we stand with Palestine. No, but the problem is that this is turning into action, and I don't know how to
globalizing
deal
the
with that.
Intifada.
When I talk about Islam, people think that it's very not border that we live in Islam. I don't believe it. Now the reason why I say it's simple. I don't think that any religion, especially Islam, should be cuddled. 2, the problem is that's why even the free speech in America, unfortunately, there's nothing Americans can do because you're allowed to say whatever you want to say in America. Let's forget whether it's against Israel or promoting Hamas. Americans do say the tiniest of things that I don't support, but it's America. But let's move America from the context. Let's go to other countries. Why would Muslims in Nigeria be protesting Israel and Hamas or Palestine? What's their business? Do they care about what is going on in other places? Do they care about everything? Why would Somalians on this app in real life are so pro-Hamas? Let me just ask yourself a question. Is it really about Israel or is something else?
It's Al-Aqsa Mosque. You don't know. It's like Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Hold on. it makes sense to you. All of a sudden, the Palestinian issue, something that unites all Muslims, not the issue of China.
Yes,
It's not necessarily what you just said. It's not necessarily true because, and I think that's an important question that you asked. Is this actually about Israel? I don't think it is actually about the land. I think it is about the hatred that there has grown in the Muslim the community towards Jews. And so why do I say this? Because if the Arab world actually cared about the Palestinians and they actually cared about the land and whatever, they would be supporting the Palestinians. But none of the Arab states, of the 57 states, are wanting to open the doors to any Palestinians. They're not wanting to actually help. They're just wanting to make the whole noise in order to bring down the Jewish state. So this does not really have to do with the Palestinians and with their land and with the Palestinian cause and all of that. They just want the Jews completely eradicated. And so it is a different problem. And that is, I don't know, it's a very complex issue.
The Palestinians are the weapon, basically. No, it's not the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Palestinians are a weapon. No one really cares about them, not the Islamic world, and also not the pro-Palestine movement. They don't care about them. I mean, let's be honest about this.
Palestinians.
Israel, yes, but the rest, no.
It is about Al-Aqsa Mosque. The name of the
No, it's not so. It's not.
What's the name of the 7th of October operation? Al-Aqsa operation, Al-Aqsa Mosque. Why is
No, that's an excuse. So that's an excuse. I mean, at the end, the demand of Hamas has nothing to do. The demand of Hamas has nothing to do with Al-Aqsa. It's only about releasing terrorists. Okay? It's not about the two states. It's not about Al-Aqsa. It's not about nothing. It's just about
Al-Aqsa is the important place for Muslims from Indonesia to Middle East.
You know it's not true.
I know it's true. What do you mean? The Al-Aqsa Mosque is the core principle of the mosque.
No, the Al-Aqsa Mosque is...
You're not Muslim.
So I understand. Yes, exactly. The reason that they are using Al-Aqsa is to weaponize it. It's not the reason,
But
okay?
Daniel,
It has nothing to do with Al-Aqsa. Hold on, let me...
And he actually he said that they need to build another temple. Since
Right.
you deny it.
And nothing happened. And nothing happened. And nothing happened.
But he is the...
And nothing happened.
I know.
But Soren, look, Soren. No, sorry.
If you are
When
silent,
Ben-Gvir said...
you're going to build
Hold on.
another temple there.
When Ben-Gvir said it, nothing happened, okay? On 7th of October,
No, but it will. If I am silent,
Okay.
it's going to happen. Well, we're not going to be silent. Let me tell you this.
okay, the reason... Soren, the fact is, it has
We know
nothing
that
to
you are
do...
not going to be silent. We know that already.
It has nothing to do with Al-Aqsa, okay? It's the same with the Hebron massacre. It also started with the Jews are taking over Jerusalem, yada, yada, yada. It was always a way to incite people and to use Al-Aqsa or the religion. I mean, we all know, and it's time that you also acknowledge it, sorry, that Islam has been weaponized. And part of it is like Al-Aqsa. It has nothing to do with Al-Aqsa.
Weaponized by Zionists too. I mean, with the same degree.
No, it wasn't. And try to stick to what I'm saying and not to move to another thing. We're talking about now Al-Aqsa. Al-Aqsa is not about us. It's a weapon, nothing more than this. And the fact is that there was no and the fact is there was no demand by Hamas regarding Al-Aqsa. The only demands are about yes, the name, that is the branding, not the reason. It's same with the Palestinians. It's a brand.
Just
It's
like
not
your
the
name is not Soren.
I mean, it's just an
More
excuse.
importantly, it was never it's never been the policy of the government. Forget dual sanctum. It has never been the policy of the government to call for the destruction. Okay?
Is a part of the government. Without Ben Gvir, Netanyahu is gone. So stop saying he's just one guy. He's the most influential member of...
We've been telling him not to talk about Al-Aqsa, and he continues, and we fought for it. And now we've been talking about Al-Aqsa for 15 minutes.
It has a lot to do with that in that context. Look, there's a game called King of the Hill, right? There's a highly sought after hill by 3 parties. And whoever takes control has to hold it, defend it from
The Jordanians have control of this. The Waqf of Jordan has control of it right now.
okay, whoever has control of the Al-Aqsa, I'm not talking about specifically Al-Aqsa, I'm talking about Jerusalem, okay? You guys assumed control of the hill with a population of 9 million, 10 million.
Okay, it's our capital city. What next?
You understand what kind of position you guys put yourselves in?
Yeah, I understand that us being alive is a position that is not comfortable for many Muslims. You have to sum it up, because it's not going to change. You can fight, but you need to understand that, at least be honest, that it's not about the Palestinians. You're also saying it is about religion, it's about controlling Jerusalem, it's not about Palestinians.
It doesn't matter. The Palestinian lives being lost, that's also another added factor. But
no, that's not a factor.
It's king of the hill. Jerusalem is the hill.
No, it's not.
No, it's not king of the hill. It's one dude who plays and has a regular army, and then another dude who likes to drive it with suicide vests and, hide munitions in intelligence factories next to kids, so that when the Israeli military takes out these targets, there's inevitably civilian casualties. That's Hamas's strategy. It just has been for a long time, Machiavelli. In fact, NATO Strategic Command in 2013 wrote a paper on a study that was done since Hamas's inception in 1985. And they found that Hamas used child shields and put war material next to prohibited zones since they came into being. If folks who are Palestinians are getting killed, it's only because Hamas, the terrorist group, the group that literally walks around and blows up buses with suicide bombers, right? It's their fault. Those people did it. And I would prefer personally if the American military came in and just shot all the people in mosque. Execute them all. They're no good. They're evil.
Also, we need not to forget about the narrative, and I just find it so frustrating when people are just manipulated with whatever they read and don't even try to make sense of things. When they see, and we've talked about this many times, and Daniel especially, but when we see, all these children dying, like, everyone imagines all of a sudden like a bunch of toddlers, being executed and and whatever. These are 14, 15, 16-year-old quote-unquote kids with guns attacking IDF soldiers and who are actually part of the militia. So, and all these women as well, they are willing to die for this. All of this is all pure emotional manipulation. I'm not saying that it's not bad what's happening, but you need to be a little bit more critical thinking when we read stuff, because we're all talking on emotion here.
It's all those people that were upset about children dying. They were silent when Hezbollah killed 12 children on a soccer. They were silent about
soccer field, yeah.
Yeah, they were silent about it. So it's not about the kids. They are all being used, and it's time that if you are really pro-Palestinian, stop supporting those that are sacrificing them and start supporting them.
And those were Muslim kids, by the way.
I want to read. I want to read something. I want to read something very.
Danicus, hold on. Andrew was first, and then you go.
Yeah, I'll try to give it brief. So, that whole idea and narrative that is trying to lift the weight of responsibility from Hamas and Hezbollah, it is cynical to the greatest extent. Because the idea that it's all done in the name of civilians and Palestinians is false on so many accounts, and just the facts on the ground do not support that claim. Because one of the interesting things that I found out recently is that the refugees, by the UN rules and charter and organizations, are all under the same umbrella and have the same rules, except for Palestinian refugees. Now, why is that? When you look into the way the refugee is defined, it's different from all the other refugees everywhere in the world. Because Palestinians are the only refugees that can pass their status to their children. So, because every other refugee, as soon as they seek asylum and they become citizens of another country, they give up their status as a refugee refugee, and they don't have any legal claim for the return or claim for the land that they left, except for Palestinians. They're used as a prop for this conflict to continue. It started. I think in the beginning the number was 40,000, and now there are more millions of them living outside of the Palestine than inside of the West Bank and Gaza Strip. I mean, it's ridiculous to say that that proponents of or so-called humanitarians who support Hamas and Hezbollah and the cause of Palestine are doing it for the sake of the people of the Palestine. They're not. It's just a prop for them. And the way the countries surrounding the region have acted, the Muslim countries, it's also a showcase and supportive of the narrative. They're not willing to accept any of their so-called brothers and sisters. They're keeping them outside of their country. They close the borders to them. So to say that it's all done for the sake of Palestinian people is just false. It's unfactual.
Look, we've all seen it before in India, okay?
It's my go. It's my go, Shiva.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to read this. I'll make it brief, but this is just as a reminder for some. And you can Google it. The sources say it. So the Al-Aqsa construction, 638 CE to 705 CE, 8th century. There was no historical or spiritual connection between Muslims and the Temple Mount prior to 705 CE. The Umayyad Caliph Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan ordered the construction of the Al-Aqsa Mosque on top of the Temple Mount, the holiest Jewish site historically, in an effort to attract Muslim pilgrims to the Levant and consolidate his power. His rival Ibn al-Zubayr controlled the Muslim pilgrimage to Mecca, which left Ibn Marwan in Jerusalem without a holy influence or pilgrimage to revenue. The Muslims in Levant used to go to Mecca, leaving behind Levant for months every year. Ibn Marwan managed to market the Temple Mount as a holy place for Muslims too, as a political and economical tactic. Gradually, Jews were removed from their holiest site and banned from worshiping at Temple Mount till today. Just in case people forgot about history, since so many claims are being thrown around here, and the majority of the claims are all a bunch of fucking lying tactics.
Nobody denied that you're just going off on your own.
The Umayyads are particularly interesting because they didn't institute a tax system. They did have a tax system, but it was like if you were Muslim, you didn't have to pay tax. If you were a Wahhabi Kitover person in the book, you had to pay a jizya. But the state did not make most of its money from taxes. It made most of its money from expansion and conquering of territory. And so when they ran out of territory to conquer, the empire fell apart. And then you had a group called the Abbasids back then.
All right, so in the 90s, back in Kashmir in India, the Islamist rebels or terrorists, jihadis, they went into homes of Hindus. They kidnapped the women, they raped them, they chopped off their breasts, they killed the husbands, and they made some of these women eat the flesh of their husbands. This was in the 90s. 500,000 Hindu refugees left their homes from Kashmir. And guess what they called Kashmir back then in the 90s? Because when Indian Army came in, they said Kashmir is an open-air prison. Right? Exact same terminology that's being used in Gaza today. Exact same story as October 7th. Right? Probably worse. So, this is not the first time they're doing it. They have done this before in multiple parts of the world. We Indians are very, very familiar with this tactic. Every time the army comes in, they call themselves a victim, that they are being tortured and they're being killed. Disproportionate use of weapons by the Indian Army or by the IDF. It's the same story. It's the same game that keeps repeating. Here it's Alaska flood. In Kashmir it was something else, right? Kashmir ki azadi. Azadi is like freedom. So, and by the way, in Kashmir, back in the 90s, Palestinians, when they were butchering Hindus, they had huge posters of Khomeini of Iran in Kashmir painted on the walls. So this is not new. This will go on. We have to stop it.
Yeah, I think you guys need Bukele, the president of El Salvador, to come and consult in Israel. He didn't ask questions. He didn't negotiate with terrorists. He just took everyone that looked like a gang member and everyone that looked like terrorists, no questions asked, put them behind bars. 80,000 people behind bars. And then he started asking the questions and deciding who was innocent and who not. Like, you need a drastic measure over there, because otherwise Israel is going to be dragging this threat and these parasites for longer and longer and longer, and it's going to be a never-ending story, and people don't live in peace, dude. Like, I don't know, like, the Israelis are so good at business, so good at keeping a very cool country and whatever. Why do they have to spend time and resources in having to keep these people in line? It's like a zoo, you know?
People live in peace after they're beaten into submission.
Exactly.
And like one of the paradoxical parts about peace is that it has to have a really strong hand to keep it down. It doesn't just happen, and it's not
helping the Israelis right now. Like,
I can't hear anything you were saying if you're trying to respond to what I said.
No, but you're not helping the Israelis. You have to help them understand the gravity of the situation that they're in.
No, you know what Israel is like?
Israel,
I agree 100% with Marshall. I think Israel is like that mother in the supermarket that is telling the kid that is doing a tantrum, don't do that, or I'm gonna spank you. Don't do that, or I'm gonna spank you. Don't do that, or I'm gonna spank you. And the kid keeps doing that and that and that, day after day, year after year, and he just grows up to be a brat, you know? And so the type of good mother is the one that doesn't talk, and the one that puts that kid under submission to the mother, because he understands who calls the shots.
Let me say something.
And then they can, hold on, Mako, and then they will be having a very happy family, because everybody will love that kid, and that kid will understand who is the boss.
Shiva, so I know how India will benefit from the lack of Israel's technological sector. If Israel were to be removed from the equation, I know how India will benefit from it. So I know what you're pushing.
But they're not going anywhere.
Isa, Marshall, I don't know what you guys are pushing, but I don't know if it's out of like, if you're feigning ignorance or what. There are a population of 10 million people, Marshall.
Mayans were able to produce 700 Marshall, to beating people into submission.
Look,
the Abbasids were able to do very same thing by
that's been fought over for centuries.
The Abbasids did the very same thing. They beat people into submission. The Ottomans did the same fucking thing. Right?
Marshall, it's a population. The world is different today. The world is different today.
Having a group where you can get peace means there has to be somebody enforcing the rules, the nefarious actors that inevitably appear in human society. Out of 10 people, let's say one of those choose to do shit that's fucked up.
Marshall,
if they
it's
do,
a population of 10 million people trying to hold the most sought-after hill on planet Earth. That's been fought over for centuries.
What's your point?
It's like chaos. Can you give everyone just 2 minutes to speak? And this is
No,
like chaos.
thank you very much.
What is wrong with it being the most? What's wrong with it being the most holy site to Christians, Jews? Why is that an issue?
It's an issue of dominance. It's an issue of
on the flying
who's right, who's wrong. Like, it's always going to be a conquest.
Machiavelli, what are your suggestions?
Okay, then you are making my point for me.
Yaakov, you have to understand. You have to be smart about this, Yaakov.
Main group directs the economy and the military, and you're able to have peace in different provinces where people don't always get along. You can only do it under the thumb of someone strong who can bother to enforce unwritten societal rules and written societal rules. That's why Soviets were so good because they consolidated. And then they beat the people into submission when they didn't. Just like every other major fucking empire.
I'm not
If you have an issue,
I'm not debating that. You might even be right about it.
Look, if you have an issue with the Israelis holding it, I'd be willing to bet if you asked them to leave, they would tell you, fuck no. They're not leaving their homeland. It's just not going to fucking happen.
I know that. You're telling me something I don't know, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Well, I just want to address your comment about technology. The technology thing is not a zero-sum game. Israel is not at the head because India is not. Israel is there because of the whole innovation and intelligent people that they have and all the investment. So even if Israel were not there, I doubt that the Indians would have the capabilities to actually develop what they have developed. And I'm saying this just because I work with a lot of tech companies in Israel in sports. And they're amazing, much better even than the Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I mean, he's saying that the Israelis don't know what they're getting into. That's his point, right? Machiavelli's point. I would say
They've been living with it for quite some time.
Yeah, maybe the Hamas and Hezbollah don't know what they're getting into. Maybe they are begging for the United States to get involved, right? And you shouldn't be. You should be surrendering right now. If you're losing the war, fucking surrender.
But the thing is, Israel
I
was
think we
holding
still have
power
two
with soft
carriers
power.
parked off the coast with like
That, you know what? That I would agree. They have been too soft.
No,
I think
that's
Israel,
not what I mean.
Yeah, I think
That's
that's
not what
one of
I
the
mean by
problems.
soft power.
I think Israel has been too patient and too soft for too many years.
the tea,
It's
girl?
What's the
tea?
Baby. Oh, hi, honey.
So you're not
Hi, honey. So it's about time that Israel just puts the foot down and just stops the shit. And I don't know if it's going to be with help or with other allies or them on their own, but
What would be the outcome?
It's just...
What would be the outcome, really?
We had an issue. Oh, yeah, I didn't hear you. Go ahead. Sorry.
What would be the outcome? I mean, if Israel is now hard, what would be
the outcome would be that the Middle East would understand that you don't mess with Israel, and that's the only way. As Marshall was saying, the path to peace usually also comes with a full submission of your enemy, and you need to get that submission not necessarily by killing them, but by showing them your force, so that they are scared to come after you. That's how you make someone submit.
Lisa, you can't do that with a population of 10 million. If you were China, if you had a population of the size of China, yes, I get it. It works, right?
It's not about... I mean, okay, so using your logic, do you think that the U.S. wouldn't be in a position of wipe out China if they chose to? So, no, let's not say... Hold on. Hold on. My mistake. I'm not going to say China because they're very advanced. But India, if tomorrow India attacked the U.S. and U.S. had to eradicate 2 billion of Indians, do you think that numbers will get the U.S. back? No, dude. Because
they wouldn't attack one another. Why would they attack one another?
No, it's not about... Oh my God, it's an example because of numbers. And the reason here is because the U.S. has got the military capabilities of not caring about numbers of population. So yeah, Israel might be 10 million.
Who said that?
I am saying it. Israel might be just 10 million, but their military capabilities are thousands of times much better than any of their neighbors. And yes, they could do that.
Maybe they should take a page. The Israelis should take out a page of Fallujah and Ramadi 1 and 2. They started using, Marines started using, because they were going into houses and taking heavy casualties, as urban combat does. And so they started using these things called Bangalore torpedoes. They used in World War II, long pipes filled with explosives. And it got to such an extent that each squad across the street, there'd be an M1 Abrams with them. And they'd throw, no NATO soldiers would go in, they'd throw a Bangalore torpedo in the bottom, blow that motherfucker up, and then use the tank and just drop that some bitch.
I'm starting
Like,
to think
the building was rubble in the mere span of like 5 seconds. It clearly demonstrates that you can't hide.
What did you say, Marco?
I said I'm starting to believe you and Marshall, you're not real people. Like this, like reality. Please go back to reality. It's not how the world operates. Certain people don't genocide one another. It never works. Like maybe in ancient times, maybe not when nobody was watching. Yeah, okay.
Machiavelli, what kind of isn't that hard?
I mean, you need to. I mean, basically, what you're saying is not true. I mean, I wish it was true, but the fact is that people are hyper-focused on Israel and what they're doing, calling it a genocide. Well, actually, if you look at what Hamas wants to do and try to do and declares that they will do, that is a genocide. So it's not about like nowadays, it's about like this double standard. Right now there is no genocide in Gaza, yet everybody's calling it a genocide.
Can I add one thing?
Regardless of the perspective that you hold, Daniel, every day you dig yourself deeper. That's the situation. That's the reality.
What is my perspective? I'm not sure.
Wait, who is digging themselves deeper?
Yeah, I didn't get it. Like who and how, or like it was a very like a statement.
I said regardless of your perspective, you as a Israeli.
I'm not talking about my perspective. I'm talking about my perspective. I'm saying like realistically, there are actual genocides going on. There are actual genocide intentions going on. No one gives a fuck. Yet they call the war in Gaza a genocide. It has nothing to do with perception. I don't think it's a genocide. No one, like, the only people that think it's a genocide will not call...
You don't, Daniel, okay? You don't think of it as a genocide, but a lot of people are convinced.
Who cares what a lot of people...
Yeah, but exactly, this is what I'm saying. You are calling it... Machiavelli...
When you say who cares, when you interject like that, you're not helping them understand...
But Machiavelli, you are missing the point. The fact that many people think it's a genocide when it's not a genocide, this is what I'm trying to show you. That there's hyper-focus and double standard when it comes to Israel. They don't really... It's not about genocide, and it's not about definition. It's about propaganda, and it's about perception. Calling it a genocide when it's not even close to a genocide.
Do you remember what Elon Musk said about the situation in the first month or the second month of it?
No, I don't.
What?
And what does it matter? And why does it matter?
Why are you focused on this genocide when there are other genocides happening in the world?
Hold on.
Why aren't you talking about those genocides?
One second. It was actual, genuine advice, Daniel, that somebody should have listened to.
What is the advice? What was the advice? I don't know what he said. With all due respect to Elon Musk.
I don't remember exactly what he said. He said...
Now you speak like me, Daniel, without respect, respectively.
Hold on.
You speak like me, huh?
He said something along the lines of basically negotiate. Kind of. But he put it in a way that was more philosophical.
It's like Kamala Harris. We need to get a ceasefire deal. Yes, that is amazing. That is amazing. But if you need to... But Machiavelli, hold on. I want to answer him. But Machiavelli, if we visit reality, we see that those statements are cute. They are like nice. We can do a lot of likes and shares and subscribes. But it's not realistic. No?
It's the family of the hospital. Did you call him Taco Bell? Did you just call him Taco Bell?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Machiavelli, we tried that with the Sudetenland, and look where that got us.
Yaakov, it was realistic when he said it. When the time was right, it was realistic then.
No, because he doesn't understand Hamas. He doesn't understand Hamas. Do you really think that Hamas would just give up the hostages and say, okay, we would stop everything?
As of now, it's no longer valid advice, in my opinion. What he said...
No.
It does not...
I'm talking back then. Back then, it wasn't a valid advice back then because Hamas, in order to have a deal, you need to have two parties that are interested in a deal. Okay? Calling something a deal or negotiation, it's so broad let's negotiate. But we don't, like, you want me dead and I don't want to be dead. Let's negotiate.
Israel is the relief.
How will we negotiate if you want me dead and I don't want to be dead? What's to negotiate about? That's dead, like I will just give you one eye and one arm.
Let's
It doesn't
not
work
debate
like
the
this.
virtues of what he said. I'm just saying it was valid, genuine advice.
Yes, it was genuine, but it's not realistic. Machiavelli, what I'm trying to tell you, I'm just trying to tell you that it wasn't realistic, and it's just like more like virtue signaling, saying like negotiate. They started to negotiate when they say we will do it again and again and again and again. What do you want to negotiate? Then instead of 1,000 times, they say, okay, we're willing to only do it 20 more times.
I understand that. I understand why you say that.
What kind of Muslim you are? You drinking alcohol? Isn't that haram?
It's not alcohol. But
Hey,
anyways.
keeping the topic, dude.
No, I mean, the fact that negotiation is sweet, but it's not realistic. I'm sorry.
But the thing is, like,
100 people were released
guys,
the first
I don't know how I
negotiation.
could like try to convince you anymore that you are in a very difficult position.
Hold on.
This we know. Machiavelli, this you don't need to convince us. We know we are in a...
Correct me if I'm wrong, Marco, but I think that you're saying that it is playing against Israel to keep doing this because they're drowning themselves and they're attracting more haters. So,
and the truth is, the truth is that no matter what we do or don't do, hold on, I just want to say, it doesn't matter what we do or don't do. And we can use this polio example. There are now people in Palestine, like journalists in Palestine, one of them is a Nobel Prize nominee, that is kind of starting to advocate against it because it doesn't make sense to her that why would an army that wants to genocide us will also give us polio? I mean, they believe in the lie and then a lot of things don't make sense to them.
Makes sense.
Yeah, they now say it doesn't make sense that the army that wants to genocide us will give us vaccines. That they actually start to believe their own bullshit. And now they are starting to do a campaign to not take those vaccines. It doesn't matter what we do. When they ask for a ceasefire, now they're saying that it's evil that we are doing a ceasefire for vaccines. At the end of the day, as Ish says, it doesn't matter what we do, we are at fault.
Why don't you cut your losses as of today?
Because you need to understand
before Daniel went to the vaccine thing.
No, I will answer about cutting our losses.
No,
just one comment. It's not like the United States. It's not like the United States went to Iraq and said, "Okay, we go." Okay, Gaza is on our border. They still have hostages and they still threaten us daily. It's not about cutting our losses. Cutting our losses is to get it done.
Okay, so in hindsight, Daniel, this is what's going to happen. If you want to eradicate Hamas,
in hindsight, this is what's going to happen.
In hindsight,
if you want to eradicate Hamas,
oh my God, Marshall, let him fucking.
I just tried to hear it. It's quiet.
Marshall, you're breaking up.
No, you were talking, Marco. If you want to cut your losses and eradicate Hamas, you need to what?
I said, if they do not want to cut their losses and negotiate whatever there's to be negotiated for, then Israel has two options. Israel only has one option actually. They either pursue the eradication of Hamas and keep pursuing it, and they sacrifice the lives of the hostages that Hamas has. That's the reality.
Okay, what's the other option? I would agree with you. Just one option. I would agree with you 100%, but I would say the exact same words about Hamas. If they are winning, hold on. They need to cut their losses, and so do the Palestinians. It's not Hamas cutting their losses; it's the Palestinians.
Okay,
if they want to keep pursuing this,
what you're saying.
At some point, they need to retrieve and say, we don't want anyone else to die, because they're the ones at losses right now.
Isa, I understand what you're saying, but you also have to understand how resigning to your faith works. Like, you resign your faith. That's it.
Yes, Marco, and I can understand that. And you know that I have been trying to make a big effort to understand the ideology inside of the religion of Islam, and I get it. I understand that it's a different war. I mean, these two sides are fighting a different war. And the Palestinians or the Arab world, they're fighting a long-term war. While Israel just wants to get this done and go back to their business and live in peace. These people are never going to stop. So, yeah, I agree. It's a different vision. But at the same time, then don't stop crying about all the deaths, because you know that's the goal. So let's not be hypocrite here, because when it's convenient, you want to play Israel's war, but when it's convenient to you, you want to say, okay, this is our religion belief, we're not going to abandon it, we're going to go ahead and ahead. So take your pick. If you're going to go ahead, they're going to wipe you guys out. That's how it's going to work. Now, if you're going to want to live in peace and renounce to whatever purpose you have with war, there will be peace. But it will not be at the price of Israel.
It says we can't because our religion says so. That's the point. At least he's honest.
That's the whole point, yeah.
Alright, I want to add something.
Thank you, by the Napoleon.
If it was a genocide, in my opinion, like, wouldn't they have used like biological warfare or like other like less costly ways to genocide, like disease and hunger kills more.
Against the Armenians, handguns, rifles, like rifles and machine guns.
Daniel, I want to ask you this because I think I asked it to Meyer, but and he or I asked it in the group, but I think he was the only one responding. This whole polio thing, the vaccination, I mean, couldn't that have been used, or maybe it was used strategically, to have the IDF going into Gaza without necessarily killing people, but observing and looking where everyone is, and maybe, I don't know, freeing some hostages or arresting.
We facilitate it and we don't administer it. So the people that administer it would be the WHO and UNRWA and stuff like this. We are not the ones giving the polio vaccine.
But but by facilitating it, you are accompanying these teams, right, that are administering.
No, we're giving them the vaccines. No, we don't accompany them.
They would be shot at, and none of the NGOs would want to be next to it.
The precedence has already been established in Pakistan, right? They sent in these vaccines for polio to catch Osama bin Laden. And since then, more than 200 medical people have been killed because they suspect them to be informers of CIA.
Well, I want to believe that Mossad has got people in those teams, to observe what's happening and report back.
Yeah, they don't need the polio vaccines for this. They can do it like with just embedments of the WHO or whatever.
Yeah.
So Isa, I responded to you in the chat, but I said that I can't prove a negative. So if you're saying there's something embedded, but polio has been a problem in Gaza for a long time. But I didn't write this in the chat. My daughter's 21. American medicine does not recommend oral polio vaccine. In Israel, then, before this engagement, this is back in 2001, 2002, Tipat Halav, which is the child clinic that gives the vaccines, recommended oral polio because there was known to be polio rampant in Gaza sewage, and you can pick up. So polio in Gaza has been an issue even back with this engagement, and Israel's been actively trying to eradicate it. Now it's gone 15 years with nobody caring. So the fact that it showed up again, it makes full sense. Again, it's not a new issue. No, it's in a private chat.
Oh, private. Okay.
I didn't tell my personal story in the chat. I just wrote it's been an issue, but we ended up denying the oral because it was during the Intifada. We weren't going to Gaza. I didn't think it was a major issue. American best practices says it's to take the shot and not the oral. So she never got the oral, but Tipa Kala would give the oral for that reason, trying to eradicate polio. To Israelis, everybody.
I love it how Soren makes people feel guilty of what Palestinians are going through. On the other hand, he says the resistance is their right. Hamas is doing the right thing because they're resisting. but when you kill them, right, he makes you feel guilty.
Soren, can
So
you
these guys see
Soren,
both sides of the mouth.
I don't think Soren understands urban warfare.
Can you be consistent? Can you say that Hamas is a terrorist organization and they should release the hostages? Can you say that? Soren?
I mean, this talking point was for back in November. I mean, you could have
You might
used that
turn into
talking
a
point.
pumpkin.
It's just too late for that talking
Yeah,
Good
we'll
dodge.
never. Soren is Iranian agent. He represents the Iranian regime. That's all.
Do you condemn
It's
Hamas
Islamic Republic.
So Soren, you
Yeah,
can
like
be
a Zionist
consistent and
regime,
say
yeah.
that Hamas is...
No, this talking point that you're using
What's
on
the talking
Nigeria,
point? Is Hamas a terrorist organization or not?
that
That's
was
the
back in,
talking point.
I mean, you could have used that till November last year. So you still had that.
What do you mean a
Now,
talking
you
point?
can't use
Sorry.
that anymore.
What do you mean? You know what? Genocide is a talking point,
Yeah.
and the war in Gaza is a talking point, and 40,000 killed is a talking point, and basically, sorry, your entire existence is a talking point. So if Hamas is a terror organization,
Don't do it,
Soren. Don't do it. You might turn into a pumpkin. It's bad for you.
That's okay.
Don't admit anything.
That's okay, love. That's okay. But the problem is that tomorrow there will be a strike in Israel. But Daniel is on this app for no reason. But
Don't
the
move the
real
ball
Israelis are
Why
going
a
to be in the
pumpkin?
street of Tel Aviv. They're going to be in the street of Tel Aviv, and they're going to say
Soren
no.
meant anything
They're going to say no
pro-Israel.
to Daniel. They're going to say
Oh
no
my
to
God!
Netanyahu.
Soren, why are you turning into a pumpkin?
I mean,
He's like Cinderella.
Israel is
He admits
unlike
anything
Daniel, who
pro-Israel.
is a
He'll turn
refugee
into a
in
pumpkin.
Germany, unlike Daniel, who's a
do
refugee
you
in
live
Germany,
in Israel?
they are not going to.
I have a question for the room. I have a question for the room. Is there a Freemason here?
Yes,
Who?
Yaakov.
Are you a
Anissa.
Freemason?
And women can't be Freemasons, so that's...
I'm trans.
Some of the Freemason laws except women.
Of course I'm joking. Don't take me serious.
I'm Jemima.
Oh,
Okay.
Jemima.
Jemima.
Do you follow principles from all religions, or are you just adhering
Who's
to
Malcolm
Judaism?
Moore? Who's that?
First of all, it's religion free. You only have to agree that there is a supreme being. There's no religious component to it, meaning, i.e., that you have to believe in Muhammad, you have to believe in Jesus, or you have to be Jewish. No, that doesn't exist.
You must believe in religion if you are a Freemason.
No.
It isn't fact. Come on, you must have a religion if you're a Freemason.
No.
You cannot be an atheist.
I am trying to tell you. Listen.
Soren, why do you act like you know everything?
Because I know.
You
I've been to the lodge. You need to have a religion.
He's trying to explain you what happens there. He's trying to explain
You can't go into the lodge unless you're a third-degree Mason. Okay?
Honey, you sound like a drag queen talking about RuPaul. Calm down.
Okay, listen. You just have to believe that there's a supreme being.
A great architect of the universe. So I know where you're going with that. But you need to believe in
You don't have to believe in a specific religion. Okay, end of discussion. That's it. That's none. And you have to believe in charity and
But that means
fraternity.
you cannot be an atheist. That's my point.
Hold on, Soren.
You of course not be an atheist, Soren. World history is replete with people who were not religious, even though they lived in a society that was religious.
Not religious is one thing. Being an atheist is another thing.
I want
Atheist,
to
you do
ask
not
you
believe in God.
Actually, that was a thing.
Are
There
you
were
for
people, in
architecting?
particular during the Enlightenment, folks in
Okay,
the Renaissance,
okay, so hold
thought
on.
exactly that way.
Hold on. I don't think that we need to open right now the topic of the Freemasons.
Freemasonry.
Why were you? Hold on. Why were you asking that question, Marco? Is that?
So, are you for architecting the point where all of these events coincide? Are you for architecting the point where the Moshiach comes, where the Messiah comes, where the Antichrist comes?
He
Are
just
you
told
for
you that it
You
is
think
not
that that's
religious
part
at
of
all.
Freemasonry? That has nothing to do with Freemasonry. We're
Are you
about
sure?
giving. Yes, I am very sure. Okay, let me dispel you of any. We're about raising money for charity, and we're meeting other people. It's a fraternal organization, and that's it.
Yeah,
End of
Marco,
discussion.
it's like an adult sorority for men.
Honey,
Yeah,
are you also a Freemason?
the Order of the Eastern Stars for women. So there's a similar thing for women.
No, Macklemore, it's not the Illuminati. You sound like Kanye West now.
Yeah, I know. This is conspiracy theories. Please step away from them. I honestly have to tell you,
Yeah. It's like me pretending I'm a woman, but I'm a man, really.
No, you're a woman.
Yeah.
You're a real woman.
Does that make me gullible for believing it?
You feel better now?
She's a real woman.
You know what, Macklemore?
Machiavelli?
You feel better with a good, hearty pancakes from Jemima's kitchen.
I don't think they're freezable enough, but whatever.
You don't think what?
I don't think they phrased the question well enough, but it doesn't matter.
So I'm a liar? I mean, I'm giving
No,
you
you're trying. I think that Marco is kind of like conflating the Freemasonry with the whole conspiracy theory about the controlling the stuff in order to create the right conditions for the coming of the Messiah, something like that. You cannot. I don't think that you can influence prophecy. It'll happen when it will happen.
Yeah, and I can't disprove a belief that is inherently false. I can't disprove that. I can only tell you what it stands for. That's the only thing I can prove.
Oh, now I want pancakes.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
I was trying to ask you a question, Machiavelli. You keep on saying he's 9 million people. He's 9 million people. Like, other than negotiating, if you were head of Israel, what would you do? Like, what's your plan?
I capitulate. Like, I would just.
Okay. Other than negotiating.
I would get out of Jerusalem. That's what I would do.
I would bomb the shit out of these fucking Muslims.
So, unilateral withdrawal.
Exactly.
And that's what would make you a very lousy prime minister.
Yeah.
It would make us
let's switch. I just wanted to get to the heart of the matter.
Really, you would let Hamas rule Jerusalem? Like, are you thinking we're insane?
I love how
Yes, it is.
Hey, I'm muting.
It's not.
So, letting Hamas rule Jerusalem is insane and delusional. Like, dude.
Hey, it might be a good idea. We could play Crusades round 2. I like garlic hummus. It's really good with crackers.
Is it?
Garlic hummus? What is that?
Garlic hummus. Garlic hummus.
Garlic hummus.
Hummus. Making a joke.
Oh yeah, I know, but I just didn't get this one.
Okay, let's think about it like this, Machiavelli. Like, if let's say Hamas was the one currently ruling Israel, and the Israelis are the one who did October 2nd, what would you do?
They would have never done that. Number one, they would have never done that. And number two, if Hamas was in charge of Israel, it would be a shithole, just like Hamas is. They wouldn't have all these advancements and all the culture that they have. Yeah, it would look like the 7th century city that Hamas and other Palestinian places look like. I'm sorry if that is too harsh, but it's true. And that is
a little high, maybe like 12th century.
What do you no? 7th century is from the Quran. It's the time of the Quran, Marshall, and that's where they're stuck.
You said it was a history joke. Apparently, it didn't come off. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm a woman. Don't joke with me. So
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't
what
matter.
Do you
it
think?
Goes back to the desert that it once was. It doesn't
exactly.
matter.
You just want it for the sake of wanting it. They're going to destroy it. What do you think is going to happen? Would happen in Israel? I mean, if the Jews said, "Okay, guys, listen, Israel is yours. We're going to go back to Europe, according to you." What do you think that the Palestinians would do with Israel? They would turn it into shit. They would be like my mom used to say. Palestinians are like stomachs. Everything they touch turns into shit. And that's what they would do with Israel.
At least your mother said that they're Palestinians.
some of these Zionists don't
No,
even accept
he
it as
told.
a Palestinian.
My mom used to tell that to us because we would be like little destroyers. She would call us little stomachs.
So, and what is a Palestinian? Can you tell us?
Listen, this is not November, Daniel. This has
Can you tell us what is a Palestinian?
that they teach you to use. What is
So,
Palestinian? What is
you
that?
just said.
Oh yeah, what is Zionism?
So, relax. Why are you so triggered?
Very boring.
Hamas was
Okay,
in
you said
charge.
it. Hold on, Moshe. You said that we don't acknowledge Palestinians. I asked you, what is a Palestinian?
Okay.
Yes.
If someone disagrees with Zionism, okay, what is Zionism? This Hasbara bullshit, Daniel. It's boring.
I would ask again.
All of you use the same talking.
Relax, dude. What is a Palestinian? Why are you so triggered with the question?
Daniel. Keep it to other people.
Okay.
I'm not
I
interested.
can tell you what.
I will try one last time, Soren, and if not, you can stay muted. What is a Palestinian?
Palestinian is something that you are not. That's what I can tell you. I mean, this is in contrast to what you are.
Not so.
It sounds like you don't acknowledge what is. It sounds like you don't acknowledge Palestinians.
It is not you for sure.
Soren doesn't. That is also.
Okay.
So you mean that they are Swedish?
It's not you. It's that if you do the DNA test, there's something that you don't have. It's something like not like a Ukrainian shit that you have.
No answer. No answer.
I'm not interested in that answer.
Thank you. Thank you for
Want to know what Hamas says? Palestinian is?
Hold on.
You want to say Al-Misri, the family name is Egyptian? This is boring, man. And you come up with new topics. So outdated.
Soren, drink water. We asked a question, you didn't answer.
Go to Tel Aviv, Daniel. There's a strike tomorrow.
Soren,
I don't know.
There will be a strike tomorrow.
Okay, maybe.
Who's stroking?
Soren. Okay, so can you answer Daniel's question? Auntie Jemima, what is a Palestinian? Maybe you can teach something to
I
someone.
don't know what I got it is. You guys are talking about pasta and Scientology. Which one's which?
I can answer, Soren, from Hamas quote.
I think as a punishment for October, on the anniversary of October 7th as a punishment, let some mosques be blown up. They should blow up, destroy on us.
But you guys don't know.
Hold on.
You don't know what Palestinian is.
Soren, mute up. Hold on, Soren, mute up. We asked you a question, you didn't answer, now we ask someone else.
I actually think that Soren's response was pretty spot on. It means we're not you. The entire identity of Palestinians is we're not you. That's it. They have no actual
Okay, so here's what Hamas Minister of the Interior and National Security, Fatih Hamad, said on March 23rd, 2012 in an interview. Quote, who are the Palestinians? Question mark. We have many families called Al-Masri, whose roots are Egyptian. They may be from Alexandria, from Cairo, from Demetia, from the north, from Aswan, from Upper Egypt. We are part of you, Egyptians. Personally, half my family is Egyptian, and the other half are Saudis. Didn't say he was Palestinian. He just said, they were from the areas where the Ottomans pulled people into the areas, Syria, Saudi Arabia, the Peninsula, and Egypt.
So let's be more clear. It's Arabs, or them primarily Muslim, although they're plenty Christian, who were in the area that became Israel, that I don't want to respect the state of Israel. It's a political class, not an ethnic class. There's no ethnical difference between them, and there's no ethnicity difference between Egyptians, Jordanians, Lebanese, no. But they are literally an identity to say, we're not you, and we want all Jews to be dead. That is now, if we want to be charitable, which I'd like to be, there is a political class of people that are not part of any nation, and they should be absorbed in some degree. But the identity of Palestinians, anyone's denying it, is we are not you. And Soren said it really well.